How's it going, everybody? The Mythical Pickle here, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 video. Well, Pickle Knights, after being sick as a dog for the better part of last month, I've had plenty of time to contemplate my next challenge run, lucky me. But it really didn't take long for this masterpiece to present itself onto me. Now, what do you get when you mix together something lame like alcohol with something rad like a Protectron? I'll give you a minute. That's right, Drinkin Buddy. Why not try to beat the robot DLC as arguably the best robot in Fallout 4 and possibly even the whole series? My apologies, Fisto. I don't necessarily condone drinking, but Drinkin Buddy sure does. So pull up a chair, grab an ice cold brewski, and join me for the ride that'll answer, can you beat Fallout 4's Automatron DLC as Drinkin Buddy? Now, as usual, let's lay down some ground rules for the challenge run this time around. To start off, we have some standard rules that are likely to be seen in future challenge runs. That is, no companions of any kind aside from quest mandatory ones. And for this run in particular, since we're dealing just with Automatron, Ada will likely be with us for most of the quests, so this rule really won't matter much. I must also stay in character with all dialogue choices and fraction decisions. And last but certainly not least, I must beat the main quest. Now for our more unique rules, I must be Drinkin Buddy for the entirety of the Automatron DLC. Big surprise there. But I'm also not allowed to use any normal functioning weapons or robot modifications, as I want our character to maintain Drinkin Buddy's truest form at all times. And it probably goes without saying, but Protectrons cannot wear clothing, so I won't be using any armor or clothes for this run either. And just like my last challenge run, we will be running a few mods to help the game function a little smoother, as well as match the theme we have set. I made it a point to only pick mods that will in no way render me overpowered or makes the challenge useless, but rather make the challenge feel a little more fresh and engaging. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive right in. After the room stopped spinning from all the pale ale in our system, Drinkin Buddy was already itching to trek into the waste. But just before we could, we've got to set up the special stats to ensure that this walking vending machine can handle the treacherous lands ahead. So I put a good chunk of my points into strength, as I was hoping this would be enough to up the melee damage of our robotic arms. But the jury's still out on that one. I skipped right over perception, cause who needs that trash, and put another third of my points into endurance to get a bit of a health boost. You'll see why a bit later. And finally, I put the remaining points I had into intelligence because, as is the case with most challenge runs with DLCs, I want to be able to level up as quickly as possible, considering how short they can be, and Automatron is no exception at all. Now that we're nice and tuned up, it was high time for Drinkin Buddy to get to work saving the Commonwealth from the evil mechanist. Oh yeah, I believe I forgot to mention that this is Drinkin Buddy's top speed. Yep, Protectrons not only can't run, but they also can't jump even slightly. Yeah, that'll be a fun little issue later. For now though, I waddled my way over to Sanctuary, where it was time for some power leveling, as unfortunately the only way to start Automatron is to reach level 15, which then activates the distress beacon. So, you know what that means. I see a whole lot of poles in our future. I'll be laying down some pole.
What did you say?
Just roll the montage. Now that we've reached just under level 15, I figured the walk over to the Walt's Consumer Electronics building would be plenty enough to get me all the way. So, I started our grand journey that was slowly wobbling halfway across the waste, armed only with a fist of steel and a belly full of ice-cold brew. Well, after a grueling 20-minute walk and a few creatures of the waste dispatched, I had successfully reached Walt's Consumer Electronics building, which was just enough to set me over the edge, and I was now finally level 15. Now that everything's going according to plan, I saved and reloaded in order to get the Automatron quest to begin, and sure enough, as soon as I loaded back in, I had the quest to track down the source of the distress beacon, which happened to be just around the corner from the factory. So I waddled on over to the bustling action. What the hell? Where's my hand? Here we go. As great as this mod is, affording us the opportunity to play as our friendly neighborhood robot here, it comes with the cost of just a few little bugs. Namely, when reloading saves, random pieces of your character will remain static and are no longer attached to your body, which leads to a few interesting situations, specifically walking pants. And unfortunately, the only way I was able to successfully circumvent these major bugs was to completely close out the game and load it back again. And after doing this a few times, eventually I was able to get my hand back on my body and I could continue to the source of the distress call. And just as I had mentioned before, this wasn't far from the electronics building. Upon approaching the all-out war that was taking place, I was quickly met with a volley of bullets and some very pissed off robots that seemed to really want some Gwyneth Stout, but wasn't in the business of asking nicely. So I did my best to fend off the Robo Bros, but the combination of getting hit with a rapid flurry of bullets and being smacked around constantly, yeah, it really didn't take long for old Drinkin Buddy to go out of service. Again and again and again. Eventually I wised up and led just one of the Automatrons away from the main battle taking place and was able to take him out with just a few well-placed smacks in the cranium. But by the time I was done with just that one robot, the only one left standing, or rather crawling, was this Assaultron that seemed to be role-playing as Anakin from Revenge of the Sith. After quickly stomping on its dreams of stardom, I found that Ada had completely annihilated the rest of the robot squad all by herself. That is impressive. Well, now that the first battle was finally over, I waddled over and spoke to Ada. Hey, Drinkin Buddy, focus. Like I was saying, I spoke to Ada about the robots that were just assaulting us and found that they had been sent by somebody called Mechanist. Hey, Drinkin Buddy, bro, lock in, alright? Well, the details of that conversation aren't important anyway. The next thing we've got to do is journey over to the electronics factory and locate the Mechanist's robo-brain that controls that area. But clearly, I was gonna need some medical supplies first if I intended to survive another confrontation. So, begrudgingly, I put my robo-legs to work once more and hoofed it to Diamond City. Now, I would have preferred to use the robot repair kits to keep things lore-friendly and whatnot, but unfortunately I couldn't find any way to use those on myself even through mods. So this will have to be just our little secret, alright? After buying as many robot repair kits as possible, I was now ready to journey over to the factory and get to work dispatching the robots there. And after walking for what felt like another eternity, I had finally arrived. And despite this being Drinkin Buddy's first true battle, his fist of steel proved mighty useful when whacking down these robotic cretins. now that this place was cleared, I got what I needed from the Robo-Brain and spoke to Ada about our next move, which happened to be a matter of building a robot workbench and attaching some sort of device to Ada, which would help us track down the rest of the Mechanist goons. So, wasting no time, I traveled back to Sanctuary, where I promptly built the thing and installed the necessary parts. And after yet another riveting conversation with Ada,
how about a pizza? Joke. Never mind. It's too cheesy.
it was clear the only way forward was to hunt down more of these Robo-Brains, and since Ada had already provided the location of said Robo-Brains, I ditched her at Sanctuary and waddled as fast as Protectron possible to the Rust Devil hideout at the Fort Hagen satellite array. And don't worry, I won't be making you sit through that grueling 15 minutes it took to get there. Now that I had arrived, Drinkin Buddy had only one objective in mind: eliminate anyone and anything that refuses an ice-cold pale ale. It's a matter of company policy.
Would you like a cold one? Would you like a beer? Care to wet your whistle? Did you want a cold beverage?
With most of the complex taken care of, I made my way to the source of the Robo-Brain signal and instead found a condescending control panel. And despite our differences and Jezebel's striking lack of social skills, she claimed she had information on how to infiltrate the Mechanist lair, but would only help me if I helped her escape the Rust Devils first. So I was forced to oblige and popped her brain jar off the terminal. However, the second I did this, a new friend decided to join the party. Resisting the urge to run or waddle away, Drinkin Buddy stood his ground and was eventually victorious over the massive metalhead. A few robot repair kits later, that is. And now the path was clear to getting out of this dump. Once I returned to Sanctuary, I wasted no time attaching Jezebel to the worst possible robot frame, and this was less than satisfactory apparently, but considering she was at least free from the clutches of the Rust Devils, she still agreed to help and gave me the necessary schematics to progress the quest. For those of you that don't know, the schematics are for a scanner that acts a lot like a key to the Mechanist lair. However, it can only be attached to a robot to function, and for some reason the game doesn't seem to recognize old Drinkin Buddy as a valid robot. So, although I'd rather complete the final mission alone, I was forced to attach the scanner to Ada. And with that, we journeyed forth to the Mechanist hideout located at the very tip of a peninsula. Oh yay, more walking. After what is hopefully the last torturous odyssey across the Commonwealth, we had arrived at the Robco Sales and Service Center, otherwise known as the Mechanist lair. After wandering through the uncomfortably silent halls, I stumbled upon the first armored door downstairs. That is where Ada came in handy and quickly unlocked said door. And after a few drawn out opening sequences, we were through, and I don't know if it's because Drinkin Buddy is made of pure steel or it's all that liquid courage he's chock full of, but he seemed to be rather unfazed by the countless traps set up throughout the halls, which meant only one thing stood between me and the Mechanist: the horde of boltheads with an acute disposition to my presence. And you know, that's really too bad, because Drinkin Buddy would much rather kick it with some of his premium brewskis, but alas, these junk bots are insistent on battle, so it's a battle they're gonna get.
Care to wet your whistle? Would you like a beer? Did you want
And just like that, the battle was over, and the Mechanist finally found the time to speak to me face to face. And just as expected, it was quite difficult to knock them off their high horse, so to speak, especially when you've only ever been programmed to make jokes and serve beer.
Would you like a cold one?
But somehow, whether it was a wild guess or telepathy on her part, the Mechanist was convinced to drop the charade, and not long after handed over the keys, so to speak, and Drinkin Buddy shut down the robo-thread for good. And after a brief follow-up with the Mechanist, the suit was mine, and thus the Restoring Order quest was complete, proving once and for all that yes, you can indeed beat Fallout 4's Automatron DLC as Drinkin Buddy. Oh boy, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been hard not to upload these past few weeks, but now that I kicked that wicked sickness I got, I'm back to grinding out these videos for y'all. Next week, I hope to have another video out, and I'll likely be uploading my first playthrough of Starfield as well, and sort of my thoughts about it. Also, you might have thought I forgot about it, but trust me, I haven't. I'm currently watching through the brand new Fallout series, and as difficult as it is for me to hold my tongue right now, I feel like my thoughts about it would probably be better served in another video, where I'll likely do a bit of a deep dive on it and toss my pickled opinion to the ring then. So be sure to look out for those these next few weeks. Other than that, you already know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button as well so you never miss another absurd challenge run like this one. And if you're still not convinced just yet, be sure to check out one of my other challenge runs and gaming videos on the channel. We've got plenty, I'm sure you'll find something to strike your fancy. Also, if you guys have any ideas on what challenge runs I should do next, drop a comment down below. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and as always, remember to smile.